board initiated some caps on certain things like the number of dry shares and all that sort of stuff. That needed a 75% plus vote, and that did not happen. That's the first thing. Secondly, we've got to get the DERA legislation through and some of the requirements that Fonterra needs to make TAF work. So, I still see this only as the first stage of two other activities that have to be done.
It sounds like the board's going to go ahead with that second resolution, even though it didn't get.
Well, they're going to put it to the AGM, and I think, and this is my personal view, and I'm more than be prepared to quote it, if they go ahead without getting the required 75% vote on those caps, I think it'll be courting trouble, frankly, because that's the one thing that farmers are really worried about. That's my personal view. So the board has said that they're going to put it to their AGM again, that same vote. And my personal view is that I would have thought they'd be reluctant to go ahead with TAF without those changes to the Constitution.
Without a reduced cap. So
yes.
It's reducing it from 25 to 20.
To 20, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there are two or three other reductions as well. I think the number of shares any one farmer can put into the fund and things like that. So it's all about trying to protect that 100% ownership, which of course farmers are passionate about.
Okay, and just in terms of what you said about Landcorp's position, you can't say what way you voted.
No, sure, I can't. But
how will Landcorp approach TAF?
We will sit on our heels, frankly, for a wee while, and we'll see if it works in terms of the economic viability. If it does go as expected, then yes, we will use some of our shares from time to time to put into the fund to generate more capital.
Okay.
And then we might cash them up again. So we'll just use them as a bit of a buffer. But look, we have to establish the fund first, we have to make sure it's liquid enough, and we've got to sort out this real challenge between, on the one hand, the share farmers and the owners of Fonterra wanting a maximum milk price and a minimum dividend versus the investors who want the exact opposite.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's the challenge.
So how do you think that could be fixed, or do you have a view on that?
Well, I do. Fonterra have tried reasonably successfully to be very transparent in their milk pricing methodology, whereby they establish that milk price. But at the end of the day, there will always be pressure on them to try and keep both camps happy, one wanting a higher milk price, the other wanting a lower milk price. And I think the answer will be just keep up transparency, which I know is hard for Fonterra because I didn't want to.
It's going through the Commerce Commission now.
It's been through the Commerce Commission, and they're happy with the methodology that's being used. But of course, the cynic in me would say, yeah, but they need the inputs for that methodology from Fonterra. So I think that'll be a challenge. But I think they're up to it. This redemption risk is real, and at the end of the day, I think in the late 90s, when the Dairy Board was around, this risk was created when we went from what's called a nominal share value, which is what they've got in Westland, which is just $1.50 and bears no resemblance to the value of the company, to a fair value share, which of course is a lot higher, and that started some of these things that are being raised now.
Right, because we're at the restricted share value at the moment, aren't we?
Well, it's restricted, sort of quasi-restricted.
Okay.
It's a market share value, but it's marked down because of the limited liquidity. So that's why it's called a restricted. But it's more of a market value than a nominal value. It used to be $1, and that was just so every farmer had to have $1 per kilogram of milk solids. Then we went to the fair value, and you'll remember it got up to $7.30 or something. Now it's gone down to this restricted thing, which is the market value minus a component because of the lack of liquidity.
Sure.